Good morning, everyone. My name is Meg Patridge, and I am the coordinator at the ABE program at Hillside Adult Education in Sauk Rapids. And we are here today to talk about integrated education and training, and specifically a class that we originated in Sauk Rapids but offers statewide called the Healthcare Core Curriculum. In the second half of the presentation, Brad Hasskamp will be leading some discussion, and probably in breakout rooms, depending on the size of the crowd, about what the issues are, what the benefits are, how we might expand these types of offerings. So we can get started. And Callie, you want to start your video and the slide deck. There we go. So here we're going to learn about the Healthcare Core Curriculum. The instructors, Callie Pelham, who is a co-presenter, was in Sauk Rapids, and the students ranged from Grand Forks to Red Wing. So we'll talk about how we did it and what worked, what some of the feedback was that we got. And then in part two, we'll address those challenges and funding models. Go ahead, Callie. So introductions. Brad, did you want to jump in and actually have audio here?
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks, Meg. Excited to see you all and to be part of this conversation today about statewide integrated education and training class. My name is Brad Hasskamp, and I'm the State Adult Education Director at the working at the Minnesota Department of Education. Thanks.
Julie.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're enjoying Summer Institute. I'm Julie Dincau. I am the transition specialist at the Minnesota Department of Education.
And I'm Meg Patridge. I've already introduced myself. And Callie.
Hey, everyone. I'm happy to be part of the team. All right.
So today, by the end of the webinar, go ahead, Callie, keep clicking through there. You'll be able to describe a statewide integrated education and training class, the Healthcare Core. You'll be able to articulate the value of the IET delivery model. You'll be able to discuss the value and the challenges in offering the statewide classes. And you will actually know how to enroll your students in the statewide classes. Callie, next slide.
Okay.
So why offer statewide classes? Well, from our perspective, it's about increasing access, especially for learners in smaller programs. Statewide class can offer that specialty training that a small program simply wouldn't be able to offer. It also eliminates the duplication of work for staff. And in this case in particular, we are leveraging a specialty instructor. We have an RN that is a co-instructor with Callie on the course. And in this class, learners leave their ABE experience with college credits in hand. They'll reach that tipping point to success earlier by having up to 4 college credits. It's a little different on each campus. We'll get into that later. And also it provides the additional support that our learners need. So rather than simply enrolling a student in any of millions of online classes at this point in time, the originating program, the ABE specialists can provide that support that our students need.
Excuse me.
And Julie is going to take us through a little bit about integrated education and training, what that model is, why it's important, how you set up a program, which we've already done. So if it looks like a lot of work, don't worry, we've already got it set up. You can enroll your students in our class. So Julie, next slide, Callie.
All right.
All right, thank you, Meg. And you guys really have set up an exceptional model around IET. But IET was passed in 2014 under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It was allowed as a new activity for adult basic education to offer. They call it a service approach, and it was kind of modeled a little bit after Washington State's IBEST model. So just so you know that the components are that it's supposed to be offered contextually or concurrently and contextually. Concurrently, because that's supposed to reduce the amount of time it takes a learner to get that credential that they need in order to get to the tipping point. The idea is that you're not offering 6 months of adult basic education and then 6 months or to a year of credential training. You're offering them together. And then contextually is something ABE has been doing for a long time, something we're relatively good at, something that probably career and technical education is a little bit better at, but contextualizing stuff to the work, contextualizing what you're learning to the workplace. So that's one. The other is workforce preparation activities. And the next slide will explain a little more further in depth as to what that means. It is not just resume writing, job interviews. It's much more than that. And then workforce training and for a specific occupation or occupational cluster for the purpose of educational or career advancement is just the third piece of that. And then next slide, please. So the adult education and literacy component is the first component, and that's what we do. So we offer adult basic education and literacy. So we have that one down. Now the workforce preparation that's supposed to be embedded in that is, as you can see, critical thinking, digital literacy, self-management, employability skills, and that's what ACEs, if you're familiar with ACEs, academic, career, and employability skills, which was promoted and created through Atlas, really builds those skills. So if you're looking at workforce preparation, don't just think it's job interviews, it's resume writings, it's critical thinking, it's digital literacy, and that has to be embedded in the coursework. Digital literacy, North Star does a tremendous job at this, and I know Minnesota is ABE providers are pretty knowledgeable about North Star digital literacy, but that should be a component of an IET as well. And then finally, we get to workforce training. Now, traditionally in Minnesota, we've been offering what's been called the occupational skills training, but there's also on-the-job training. There's also pre-apprenticeships and a multitude of other ways that you can provide the training. But those are the three components that are required. And then the design elements of this are integrated program developments. So ABE should not be doing this in isolation and then contacting a training provider from Minnesota State or then contacting a community-based organization. Contact them, develop it together, or they may be contacting you. And across the state, adult basic education has some tremendous partners already in place. And so I think we're pretty good at that work. Concurrent enrollment is what I had mentioned about. It needs to be offered together, not ABE, then training. And then integrated learning outcomes is a piece that hopefully we'll receive more training on how to do this. Some providers are doing a really good job at this, is when you're integrating the outcomes of the technical skills and you're integrating the academic skills together, and what are those shared outcomes that will be taught throughout the course. And then wraparound support is like transportation, childcare, but it's also academic guidance, and that the supports an individual will need be beyond the learning piece to stay on that career pathway. And then the approval process, Minnesota, we do have to report on IET at the federal level to our federal office. And so we have an approval process. And there is, I think Patsy put the link, or she might, sorry. I can put the link in there. This is on the MNABE site, and this is the process a program would use to get approved in the state of Minnesota to offer an IET. You do need to have approval before you can offer it, and it does need to be identified in SID as an IET. And for those of you who don't know what SID is our student information database. So this is just the process that you would follow, and once it's approved, you can offer it. And I think I will turn it over to.
I'm going to pick it up, Julie. Yeah.
Okay, all righty. Okay, thanks, Meg.
So the value of offering those statewide IETs, we went through some of it before, but my understanding is there is this strong federal push and state push. It's the model of the future. It really gives students a sense of direction because they're not just working on literacy skills, but they see that there is a stronger reward at the end of that class. It really helps our community because we're really focused on building the skills that our community needs, in this case in healthcare. And not all programs can develop and offer IETs, so let's work together, in that collaborative nature of ABE in Minnesota is what keeps me in my job. Next slide, Callie. If you have questions at this point, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to move on and take a little deeper dive into the healthcare core curriculum. There, I'm practicing that keynote, right? 2 breaths in and 1 long sigh. Okay, healthcare core. So our program is a rather small program. We generate maybe 12,000 contact hours per year. We're located near St. Cloud, but across the Mississippi River. As someone noted the other day, oh, your map makes it look like you're slightly right of St. Cloud. And that's true. We're a small rural community. They still have a drive your tractor to work day at the high school. And there's a little bit more of a conservative feel to the community as well. But we are near, a larger metro area. So we can get some students from that area, but we haven't been able to get enough students. And for us, that's 12 to 15 to really make it financially viable. We have not been able to get enough students enrolled in a specialty class like this. So we were really pleased to be able to have the opportunity to open that up to statewide enrollment. And Callie, you've met, she was the instructor for the class along with our RN partner.
Hi, everyone. All right. So we're going to have a short video so you can learn a little bit about our program and our IET offering.
Hi, I'm Callie Pelham, and I'm an instructor in Central Minnesota Adult Education. When you hear adult education, you might think of students earning their GED or finishing their high school diploma, developing their English language skills. And adult education is those things, but it's also more than that, because our programs offer students the opportunity to enter career pathways. We offer courses that allow students to gain skills and credentials that they can use in the local labor market. For example, we offer courses in healthcare careers, manufacturing, and education. Our classes provide valuable workforce certifications, credentials, while also giving students the opportunity to earn school credit. I love seeing students develop real-world skills that they can use in all aspects of their life.
My name is Jacob, and I am a youth career planner on the youth team through Career Solutions in St. Cloud. The thing I love the most about my job is meeting new people, figuring out what their goals are, helping them succeed in life, and then watching them in that journey overcome hurdles, overcome barriers, and to kind of get to our end result and to see the smiles on their faces once they achieve those goals. Different services you can receive through the Career Force Center may include resume preparation, interview prep. We can help clients obtain their GED or high school diploma. We can give them one-on-one services. The biggest thing is we kind of work with clients and put a plan together moving forward. While we work with our clients through Career Solutions, we look at the labor market information for in-demand occupations, and we'll partner with adult basic education to obtain those credentials or certifications. That credential could be Parapro, Blueprint Reading, OSHA 10, or even CNA prep work. A number of different things we can help to support that client during their training journey.
My name is Alyssa and I live in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I took a break from school for a while and then I decided to pursue my education and get my diploma at adult education. After I received my diploma from adult education, I decided to further my career in the nursing field, and I'm currently taking classes at the St. Cloud Technical Community College for nursing. I was first introduced to Career Solutions while taking classes at adult education. They have helped me in so many different ways. They have been by my side answering personal questions, helping me enroll and register for classes. They have really pushed me into the right direction. The teachers were really there when I needed one-on-one time. They would always put me first and give me the attention that I needed. Even though things were difficult at times, what kept me going was the support of my teachers. If it wasn't for Career Solutions, I probably never would have been interested in college. With the support that I've gotten, I feel like I'm even closer to becoming a nurse. If you're ever considering coming to adult education, I would definitely recommend it. They have helped me in so many different ways, and they have really supported me by answering any single question that I had.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide.
So Meg here again. Thanks for the kudos in the chat on that video. It was something that we put together last year using some of that regional transitions funds. And I'll tell you, it's been getting a lot of play. Our partners, as you could see, in this case, we highlighted Career Solutions, who provide that wraparound support. They use it as an introduction with their clients, et cetera. And yeah, we're getting a lot of use out of it. There is a link to that in the materials in the Schedule folder. And I think maybe somebody chatted it out as well. So healthcare core curriculum through our program, an IET college credit course. Let me tell you how this all came about. Spring 2020, we all remember that spring. And at that time, everybody was like opening up courses and finding new ways to do things online. So Health Force Minnesota, which is a center of excellence through the Minnesota State, what used to be MNSCU Colleges and University System, had developed this curriculum, and it's offered at many colleges, but in spring 2020, they made it available for free to anyone. So Callie and I looked at it and thought, let's give it a shot. Let's take a look at this. We had already established an ongoing relationship with an RN at St. Scholastica. They were making the curriculum available for free. Now we pay a fee for it, but it was free last year. The qualified RN was essential in getting approval from Minnesota State to offer the course. So I thank Callie for maintaining that relationship and working with our partners. Seemed like all the pieces just kind of fell into place. So we offered the course for the first time last year, which is completely online in a Schoology platform, and Callie will get into that. And last year, contact hours didn't count. So it was a great time to make that experiment. This year, any program that enrolls a student, so anywhere across the state of Minnesota, if you enroll your student, you can count the 90 hours of contact time. We have special funding this year to offer this course, and that is again using the regional transitions funds that Julie manages. But this year we're trying it so you count the hours, we do the work, you provide the wraparound support for the students, the just-in-time help for the students, help them navigate some technical issues, et cetera. And Callie and that are there to help with the homework, the curriculum, etc. Next slide, Callie. So the healthcare core, which they abbreviate HCCC, which makes no sense to me because curriculum is part of the title of the class, is offered at many campuses around the state. This list was from last fall, so it may have changed slightly. I think there are more places that are offering it, but you can see that it is being offered clearly in all corners of the state. Each campus offers it a little differently. Each campus has different kinds of credits they offer for it. So you'll see what we offer the students when they successfully complete the course is a certificate that they can take to their local campus and get credit for that work that they've already done. And it's up to 4 credits. In St. Cloud, they offer 4 credits for this course. It's 90 hours, which I mentioned. It's about 6 hours per week over 15 weeks, which Callie will get in and really describe how that works. Lessons are recorded, so students can go back and look at them. And yeah, I think that's all I need to mention on that one. Go ahead to the next slide, Callie.
Okay.
So in our pathway in Sauk Rapids in the Central Minnesota ABE Consortium, we have set up a number of classes along the way. So we start working with intermediate, low intermediate ESL students or ELL students in an English for Healthcare course, which also embeds a CPR certification as part of the course. We move on to a pre-CNA course for a little higher level learner. And then I must say there's kind of a gap here. We're still trying to figure out how to fill in that gap between that pre-CNA and the healthcare core curriculum. But this pathway then does culminate in the healthcare core. We're looking at a preferred reading level of 6th grade because it does deal with some college level texts. And frankly, Callie's done some reading analysis, reading level analysis on those texts, and they're all over the board, but she can talk more about which students had success. Go ahead to the next slide.
Okay.
Callie. So why healthcare core? Well, it's Minnesota State developed and Minnesota State recognized. So this goes beyond the CNA. It can count as the classroom portion of CNA. A student would then need to go on and get the skills portion of that training. We found that there are many local providers of CNA training, and we are growing our relationships with those providers. Some of who, for example, our local nursing home does the classroom portion as an online class and then brings them in for the skills portion. So we're looking at, well, if they want to get more college credit, and this course at many campuses will count as a prerequisite for a variety of pathways in healthcare. So it's not just to a CNA, it's not just on a nursing pathway, but it might be a prereq in all of those areas because of the types of skills that it goes through. So we thought there are many people who are already doing CNA. We don't need to duplicate that. Let's partner on those. And again, it allows the students to actually earn college credits. Next slide, Kelly. So the bottom line is that your students can attend healthcare core curriculum. You would enroll them through your site, right? And I would probably contact the manager of your site and say, here's how you set it up in SID. And we would report the hours when students complete the work, and you can count those hours. We'd report those to you so you can enter those hours. You could set up a lab in addition, or however you do your record keeping for one-on-one help beyond the classroom part that is required. Students could earn college credit. If you have a credit recovery program, it could count as an elective, and we're trying to align it with some of those other competencies, so it might count for some other things as well. And we just start the process by having students fill out a Google form, and we figure out which consortium they're in and make that contact and get them enrolled through your site and then start them on the course. So we actually have a class starting next week, right, Callie? And we have students enrolled from Red Wing, Dodge City, some small towns around central Minnesota, but we have plenty of room and we are still taking students. It starts next week, but we will take students coming in over the next couple of weeks before we cut off participation in the fall class. We'll also be offering it again starting in January.
Okay, great. All right. So I want to share as the instructor a little bit more about the class, some of the details, and please chat out questions. So this class is designed for ABE students who are completing their high school credits or working on their GED or are in that transition after they finished the GED study, but they're not quite ready for college. So it is a college preparation course. It's designed to help students get ready for college. There's a lot of support that's offered through the class to do well. And that's another reason that we like these partnerships, because if I have a student in Red Wing, for example, I know that there's an ABE instructor there who can support that student. So just as an overview of the class, what you're seeing in the slide is some information and a view of what it looks like on the learning platform Schoology. There's 7 modules and they're divided into 13 units. And we are taking the course over 15 weeks. So that includes 1 week of preparation where students get oriented to the course, how to use Schoology, how to submit assignments, what my expectations are, and also just getting to know each other, because we do want to create an online community. Students are involved in an online discussion where they contribute to the learning of the other students. And there are online lessons that students will take anytime that it's convenient for them. And I had a lot of students who were working full-time and also taking this course, and we know that that's very challenging. So students could log on at any time and work on a lesson, work on a quiz, maybe contribute to the discussion. There are written assignments. One of the capstone assignments is to write an essay. So students who come to the course need to be able to write be at the level of writing multi-paragraph writing, and I provide the support for putting together the essay. So we work week by week to build up to that. And partners who are working with students on site would be also helping students to navigate through the material. All right, I'm going to share with you the Schoology link. So just give me a minute for that. All right, just a second. Sorry about the tech. All right, I think it'll be worth the wait. All right, so now what you should see is my screen. So this is what a student would see when they log into Schoology. And so again, the course is online through the learning platform of Schoology. And so they would go, let's say they just start the class, they would enroll in they would start the first unit, first steps in the HCCC. They would watch a video. They would learn about the healthcare core, take a quiz about what they learned. And you can see there's assignments. The general breakdown is that students take the lessons that are online. And when you go to a lesson, it's not exactly like a textbook. Actually, that's not the student view. It's written out, and then from the, after they take each part of the lesson, then they would take a quiz. So they get immediate feedback, which is great. Okay. You can see there's discussion activities where students contribute to the discussion, and they'll have a writing assignment where They will write, for example, in Unit 1, they're writing a letter to someone they care about how to keep their heart healthy. All right, so let's look at some of the titles. There's Behaviors for Success, which talks a lot about getting into healthcare, what is expected of a healthcare professional. And then being aware and sensitive to client needs. Communicating in healthcare, and that's communicating with patients and coworkers and other members of the healthcare team. And you'll see communication in healthcare is a little bit longer unit. There's 3 weeks for that unit or that module. And students have the opportunity to learn about healthcare ethics, legal issues in healthcare, understanding client diversity and respecting that diversity, keeping themselves safe and others safe in a healthcare environment. And then we wrap it up on the week 15. Some students are concerned about how am I going to be able to do all this work? And our advice and what I would encourage you as teachers and managers is to encourage students that it's a week by week process, and you take an assignment at a time. The amount of work it takes is approximately 6 hours a week with videos, lessons, quizzes, writing assignments. Some students will take longer. And some will take less. That's the nature of it. And that is true for college class. If a student enrolls in a college class in our local community, they will likely have an online learning platform also, so that helps them become oriented to that. All right, we're going back to the slides, but I don't know if there's more questions. I'll go. All right. Happy to, if there's more questions that you have, we're happy to do our best to answer those.
Just while you're navigating there, Callie, just a heads up, you have about 10, 11 minutes left in this portion of the
All right, I think we need to keep moving then. Thank you. But I will keep watching the chat if you have any specific questions about the details of the course itself. Okay. And on the next slide, you see an example of what student success looks like as far as a certificate of completion. And I do just want to point out for this particular student, this was a non-traditional student who had been a patient. He had gone through a lot in his life, and he was very excited to complete this course and begin a career. His goal was to become a nurse, and so this was one step towards that goal. And here's some feedback from one of our instructors. Meg, do you want to share this?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
So Jill, the manager from Red Wing, was going to be here with us today, but she's actually dealing with some medical things. But she could tell you that Tyler was working on his GED at the same time that he was working on this course. So he was able to do both of them simultaneously. And I believe he is now enrolled at Southeastern Tech, I think it's called. So the instructor from Red Wing said that supporting the students didn't entail too much on her end. She would reach out to students weekly, see how it was going, answer any questions, offered support as needed. I know she connected with Callie on a regular basis. She had access to the curriculum, so she could go see if her students got stuck on anything, could see exactly what they were working on. She offered up technology access in their classroom and one-on-one help, but not a lot of people took her up on that. They were pretty successful in working on their own. The biggest challenge, of course, is the same challenge that we have with many of our learners, and that's life gets in the way, right? So she had a number of additional people enrolled that did not complete, but they are welcome because this isn't, a tuition based course. This is a great way for our students to step into that college experience without taking those risks that come with paying tuition, maybe getting put on probation, losing those funds, etc. Yeah, a couple of people had too much going on in their life at the moment to continue. We had one student who completed half of the course and then ended up hospitalized with COVID. She is coming back this fall to finish the second half of the course. And she was one of our referrals from Voc Rehab. So she actually also earned her diploma through our credit recovery program at the same time. So we're happy to see her back this fall.
Okay, I'll share about this. Here's a quote from a student, ABE level 4. And, you know, she was very grateful for the course. You know, I really enjoyed working with her. She was another student working full time and taking the course in, you know, on her own time, typically in the evenings. And I was able to interact with her online through Zoom and email. So she had support from her local ABE site. And then I, as the instructor, provided support online. And so she was able to successfully complete the course. And, you know, we're really excited for her future. She wants to enter the healthcare professions. This will just be one step, so she can take her completion certificate to her local community college and get the credit that she would need. For typically the HCCC is considered the entry-level healthcare course. And so the curriculum is well known, it's vetted, it's standards-based, and it's recognized. And so having this course be something that's already highly recognized really helps our students when they go into that college setting. And it gives them, again, it gives them a chance to take that college level class through a very supportive environment. Okay, and I did see in the chat someone asked about a rough breakdown of how much synchronous class time is involved. And there's actually no synchronous class time involved. This is completely asynchronous online. So I hope that helps.
Last year, we tried it synchronous on Friday mornings, and we found that students seemed to, there were, you know, a few students who would show up every Friday morning, but most of them, I guess, due to their schedules, were watching the recorded class later. So this year we're trying it so there will be set hours when the instructors are available, but they won't be doing lecture and synchronous participation in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, the bottom line was that because of the life circumstances of our students, a class on Friday morning, even though, you know, we gave it a shot, they just didn't attend. And so they did their work by viewing the videos of the class that I presented. So they, you know, there was still instruction, but the class is very well set up in Schoology so that students go through each of the lessons and then they take a quiz and they complete activities that relate to the content objectives. And so it is able to be completely asynchronous this year. So, and students can't start anytime, but we do need to get started this fall. We're flexible for that first month of September, but in Schoology there are due dates, and the purpose of that really is just like any college class or any class is we just need to keep everybody on track. 6 hours 1 week may not seem a lot, but then if you miss a week and then that's 12 hours, and then before you know it, students are falling behind and not able to complete the course. So, all right, looks like, all right. Well, what is one takeaway or one question you have from the presentation? We're happy to, I'm watching the chat and I know others are too. Meg and I are both watching the chat, and right, not seeing a lot, looks like. All right, well.
Could I just ask, there were a couple questions that I don't think we have answered.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, let me just see. One was from Susan. Susan, could you just unmute, or is it possible for you to unmute and just ask?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I have it clear on how sort of logistically. So the referring consortium counts the proxy hours for the online Schoology class. That's correct. And then
Yes, that's correct.
but then any live online time that they spend with Callie, I assume consortium would be counting those hours. Does that make sense? Like, so if the student has office hours with you, then that's, you know, you're teaching it. So you would count the hours for that. Am I clear on how that works?
Well, this is the first year that we'll be doing it this way, because last year it didn't matter who counted whatever hours.
Right, of course. It was all moot point.
Right? So we're thinking that we're reporting all of those to the originating consortium at this time. I mean, you might have some advice. You might have alternate advice for us as like the distance learning expert.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
No, our plan is just to do the record keeping and report back to the originating program probably once a month to record those times.
Okay.
So there is a lot of behind.
I'm curious how you sort of make it work financially to support class. Okay.
We don't. And that's why this year we're using transitions funds. To pay the instructors, to lease the curriculum, et cetera. But that's what the whole next part of our session is about. Like, is this worthwhile? Should we be trying to do this? How do we do it? You know?
Right.
So we've waded into that. And I mean, you're picking up on all the key questions. So you better come to the next session.
Planning to, yes. Yeah, you know me, always thinking the big picture strategic stuff. But I will let someone else ask a question now.
Okay, thank you. There was one more question from Tracy Craybaum, and she was just wondering if students who complete the course, could they easily find a location to complete their CNA certificate? And I know, Meg, you said you were working on building those partnerships, kind of.
A couple of things with that. So any campus that offers the healthcare core curriculum has it set up as separate units, and the skills portion is a separate course at that college campus. So that should be a no-brainer to take your certificate saying, I completed the classroom portion, and go over and enroll and take the skills portion. We're also in conversation with nursing homes that do in-house training, and the way they've set it up is the classroom portion, they're just enrolling a student in some online self-paced thing, right? So they could enroll that student in our course instead, and the student would earn college credits, all those other things, get the additional supports they need, and then go do the skills training at the nursing home just down the block, right? So there are a couple of different ways you can do it. However, the students that Callie worked with last year weren't keen on becoming CNAs. They wanted to enter the healthcare pathway, the healthcare field, but not necessarily work as a CNA. So there are others like Tyler. I don't know that I don't think he wanted to work as a CNA. He wanted to just dive right into the coursework in a different pathway. Still healthcare, but in a different, without doing the CNA step.
I just want to add in there, when you think of our pathway, we did have students who were EL learners taking pre-nursing classes, and we were working and talking to our community partners to have them go straight from the pre-CNA courses that I was teaching that were EL level right into the nurse training program at the long-term care facilities, because the healthcare core curriculum truly is a college prep class. It is quite a few. I mean, they're not a 90-hour class is longer than a CNA class. So if students really want to just get a job, in long-term care, there are faster ways. This course is really well designed for those who are intending to go to college and, as Meg's already said, enter the healthcare careers. But I would also just say that it's a great class to test the waters for a college class. You know, there's a lot of writing, there's the online learning platform that they have to learn and navigate, learning how to upload their assignments, use critical thinking to interact with the material that they've been presented, and then share that with me as the instructor, but also the other students in the class.
Yeah, so Kelly is referring to it as a college prep, but it actually is college level. It is college prep, but it's a way to try it. It's a way to try it without the risks that might be involved and with the additional supports that ABE can provide. But Patsy is reminding me we're at time. So Patsy, what is the plan? Then we're keeping this same room open for the next part, but we're going to take a break right now.
Yeah, exactly. Since this is a two-parter and some people may need to go to something else, although we encourage you to stay with this session, I'll just pause the recording here.
Thank you so much. Glad to see you all back. I just wanted to do a quick recap of our first session, and a really rich conversation that continued all through the break. So I really love seeing that. Like you were saying, Patsy, that's what we would do in our in-person conferences and in between sessions. So that's great that we're able to do that here in this virtual session during the break. So a couple key points I want to share about the first session. We shared a little, Callie, Meg, and Julie shared a couple of key points that we should make sure we remind ourselves of. First, why? Why should we be thinking about statewide IET programming? And really the key point, some of the key points with why do we want to do statewide IET programming is it builds our statewide capacity. It gives students, no matter where that student is, access to more specialized, more expensive programming that maybe the local adult education program is not able to offer. Because let's face it, adult education programs, we have limited funding. Not every program can offer every course, not especially with IET, integrated education and training. And we did talk about the three components of IET, which are the academic work, the workforce prep, and the workforce training. So, and then we also talked about that program design, the wraparound services, the partnerships, all of those other elements. We talked about the course approval process, and we spent a good chunk of time looking at one key example. We looked at Sauk Rapids and their healthcare core curriculum, or HCCC, that Hillside Adult Education offers. And that was an excellent program. We got to see some basics about the curriculum. We got to see the Schoology course, and we heard that this was a model that was offered at a distance asynchronously. And we got to hear a little bit of the logistics, how they funded this through their regional transitions funding. And because of that, then every consortium that refers a student, they get to count the contact hours because of that funding model. And so we got to hear some examples from Red Wing, who referred a student to the course and what that was like from the program perspective and from the student perspective. So it was some excellent material, as well as an outstanding video that we got to see during that first session. So that's a little bit of the gist of what we did in the first session. Now today, during the second session, let's move to the next slide here. And we'll take it a step further. So now we've seen how this might work, or how this has worked with the healthcare core curriculum at Hillside Adult Education. But I want you to all put your thinking caps on to really think about how you could apply this for maybe programs that you're offering, or maybe you want to refer students to some specific programming that you acknowledge you cannot offer. So we're going to create breakout groups. Breakout groups will have about 6 people in them. And in those breakout groups, we encourage you to think about some key questions. Talk together. You can debrief the first session and debrief this concept and really start articulating what are the benefits? What are the barriers? There's a lot of barriers that could trip this up. So let's identify those early. How can we fund this work? What questions do you have about creating and providing statewide IET programming? And what supports can either other consortia, our ABE support network providers, and us at the Minnesota Department of Education provide to help enable and make statewide IET programming more feasible and more likely for you to utilize and offer. And there's some other questions that you can address as well. So as we go into this session, there will be a place for you to document notes about your conversation. And I just put that into the document right now. We have a notes and conversation document. Please note that each of those questions, and there's some other questions that you can articulate or other notes you can take later in the document. We have some ideas pre-populated for you, but we want you to add to it or nuance it. There's not one document for each group. All of you will be adding to it simultaneously, so you can kind of build on other groups' ideas as you like as well. So we're going to give each small group 20 minutes to dive into this work. And then we're going to come back together and really find some of those tough areas, some of the really difficult challenges, and try to talk through those together. So that is where we're going to go next. Callie, Meg, Julie, Patsy, any questions from your perspective before we divide everyone out into groups?
No, it looks to me like the questions are both in the chat, and then the notes document, everyone should be able to edit that. Thanks for posting that, Brad. I'm going to put you in groups. If you have any trouble, if you get lost on your way to your breakout, let me know. And a reminder to those of you who are co-hosts that you can simply not join, or if you're put in the room, just jump back out to the main room for those of you who
I'd
are
like to
presenting.
just throw a reminder out there too, if you weren't in the first session, or if you have, if you run up against some question that you need an answer to, or you're not sure how to start that conversation, we're here. Just raise your hand if you know that function, or poke us in some way, and one of us will dive into your room, because this is a great time to get this discussion going. We want to make sure it's a good discussion in your room.
Exactly. I believe in each breakout, there's a ask for help symbol at the bottom if you hover at the bottom. So I'll go ahead and create those rooms. Let us know if you have any trouble. And you have been invited to join. If you don't see it, let me know. We can help you out. All right, I think it's just us. Looks like Brad went to a room.
And Meg did too?
Mag did too, yeah.
All right, okay.
Oh, Meg's coming back, okay. You're automatically assigned. You can't not assign the co-host, but he would have had to join, so that's interesting. All right, we have one person coming in. I'll just admit her.
Well, I hope that you were able in the past 20 minutes to resolve all of the world's problems, and that you have all of the ideas squared away. No, actually, I know that it was a very short time, but I was keeping an eye on the notes and saw some great things documented there. And we will actually dive into the notes next. And I'd like to start in the notes document. Let me make it larger so everyone can see. Use your reaction button to just give me a thumbs up if you're able to see it, or give me a frowny face, or flip thumbs down if you're not able to see my screen, or if the notes are not big enough for you.
Looks good, Brad.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's dive into I'm going to go down to the questions down below, and then I'm going to take that question at the top next. So lots of great ideas documented here. You really helped build on things that we had, but a couple key questions I want to start and make sure that we addressed. One of the questions that came from the group, when they clicked on that registration form for the healthcare core curriculum, They also saw something for a para prep, kitchen manager, and some other courses. And the question was, are those also available statewide? Meg and Callie?
Yeah, Meg here. I'll tell you, those are all things that we offer in our consortium right now. You know, if there is a need to offer those statewide, we can probably figure out this year how to do it. But right now we just have one form for all of our classes. So thank you for pointing that out. Maybe I'll just change that for right now so students aren't confused. Right now we're taking students for healthcare core. But if you think there's a need, you know, let's go for it, right?
So you're saying if there is a need, maybe Sorsha should reach out to you, Meg?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I could get it up and running in the next month, but I mean, over
Right.
this year or something. In fact, Julie and I were chatting during the discussion period and thinking, are there other pathways where we really should be looking at some of this statewide training? So if you do think there's a need, I think that would be valuable information, not specifically for me, but for Julie and the state staff, so that I know what the field thinks is needed.
Excellent. And maybe it'd be helpful right now. So I saw Tracy joining in and saying in the chat, Paraprep would be a great course. But I'd like to hear from some of you in the chat right now. Are there specific IETs or career pathways that you think would be ideal for a statewide IET course, either synchronous or asynchronous at a distance? And if you have any ideas of what what ideal courses or pathways could be that you maybe are not able to offer, or maybe you would be willing to offer a statewide IET course, just put that course or put an idea for an ideal course in the chat. Not seeing any additional ideas right now, of course. Paras and kitchen workers. Okay. Cosmetology. IT. Excellent. Construction, medical terminology, and maybe some of the bridge courses and maintenance work. Excellent. And then Nina was also talking about maybe some of the pre-bridge for the healthcare core curriculum, like that talks with some of the pronunciation or some of the language skills that maybe English language learners might need in order to access some of the career pathways and succeed in some of the career pathways. Outstanding. Continue to add ideas into the chat. So we answered question 1. Question 2. If something is set up, will the local consortia always get to keep their own contact hours? And you know, I just like to whichever group wrote that question down, could you please unmute and just explain a little bit more, because I think I'll give an initial answer, but I'd like some clarification to make sure I answered it fully. So if there is a statewide IET course, will the consortium always get to keep all the contact hours? Not necessarily. It depends on how that course is set up. If it's set up with special funding, and if the consortium that's operating the class, like in Hillside Adult Education's situation, they're using regional transitions funding, so they're not pulling it out of their own direct budget. And so they are able to say all the contact hours go to the home consortium or whichever consortium is referring that student. So in that case, that works. But let's say a consortium is going to use their own adult education budget and funding to pay for that course. Well, in a situation like that, they might not be willing then to give up all of the contact hours. So it'd be kind of a case-by-case situation, depending on that funding situation.
So Brad, this is Karen from Mankato. And that question was brought up in our breakout group. And that was exactly what I was thinking, because I was talking about the regional courses we're offering in Southwest Minnesota. And we have designed those with the regional transitions funds. And so everybody can keep their contact hours because we have a funding source for the overhead of that class. But then there have been situations where managers have offered classes and had, they know they typically are only going to get about 5 or 6 students in the class. They really would like to have 10 to run it to make it worth their time, and might open it up to the region. And then some of the people in the region are like, sure, I'll send somebody, you can keep the contact hours. We can just co-enroll that student. They'll be in my ESL classes, and then they'll take that with you on Friday mornings, and it's only going to help the student. And I'm not going to get the hours for that class they're taking with you, but I think it'll help them stay engaged in both programs.
That makes a lot of sense, Karen. And I do know that, I know for many of you at the home consortium, you would be concerned about contact hours. So that would be a key question that you'd want to make sure that you talk through and plan through. So we've addressed those two questions. Another question that was at the top of the document that I want to make sure we have some time to discuss is how would IET online programming or in a distance learning model take place in corrections? So for those of you that are in corrections, I'd like you to chime in, because obviously you can't just access any website. Your students can't access just any website and do the work. So those of you that are in corrections, what ideas do you have? Because we'd have to go through Minute, I'd assume, for any of the portions that are online and try to get approval for specific courses. Are there learning management system courses that could get approved through Minute easier than others? Or is that just a no-go from the get-go? It'd be really helpful to hear from corrections folks on what they think they could get approved.
Brad, can you hear me?
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, I'll jump in there. And so we're at the beginning process, but we are in the process of getting every single incarcerated individual a tablet. And we are working on I know it's been approved. D2L as a learning platform has been approved, right? And they're working, Minute is working on getting that on those tablets, but we don't have those tablets yet. So there is a plan in place. And so programs that we would want to take advantage of would be moved up the vetting list. But we're not there yet. But that is the plan, to have those that learning platform is approved. Just waiting to get the tablets in the incarcerated individuals' hands. If that makes sense.
What was the platform?
D2L.
The D2L platform. Excellent. Yep. Okay, that's good to know. And D2L is used by post-secondary and many post-secondary institutions, so that's great. But obviously it's not the same as Schoology, and since many different adult education programs use different courses, that can be a bit of a challenge. But that's great that you have that D2L approved. So that would be something that could happen here. And Matt, when are the tablets going to get in the hands of the learners?
It was supposed to be October, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
I've heard so many deadlines, and
yeah,
it's going to happen. I think I've heard deadlines over the past 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's kind of the running. It's not funny, but it's the running joke. I mean, it just you know what I mean? It is funny, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of things that are being ironed out. And yeah, it was going to be August. I know that was the one that we were hoping for, and then it's October now. October is iffy. So it is definitely a moving timeline. But fingers crossed, October, maybe November.
Matt, and just to be clear, and you know, I wasn't trying to make light of it. It was one of
no, absolutely.
You cry, you either laugh or cry about the situation, because
yes.
The sad part is that the learners are not able to learn as well because they don't have access to tablets.
Yeah, and I can say that
really frustrating part.
Yeah, for ABE, and this is not didn't necessarily do with IT, but we would access like Aztec and North Star Digital Literacy, things like that. But in terms of actual IET curriculum, we're not there yet.
Okay. And it's really Minute. Is that the sticking point right now?
Yeah, it's and they're trying, so it's not, there isn't like hold up, but there's everything needs to have security, right? They can't have outside links, it can't go to anywhere. So it's getting all those things that we didn't think were going to be as complicated turned it out to be a lot more complicated. So it's definitely it's a moving target.
Okay, good to know. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that will continue. That will be a work in progress as this goes forward. You've identified a lot as in your individual groups, a lot of great benefits, and I don't think we need to dive too much more into the benefits. But let's talk. I want to make sure that each of you takes a look at the barriers that have been generated, because there's quite a few barriers, and those are really important. And I'm glad you identified so many early on that you might need to think about as you do initial planning. So, and then funding this work. So we have 3 ideas in here that I wanted to make sure that we talk through. One is that basically everything is locally funded. So then consortia split instruction and count hours according to who does what instruction. So students would be co-enrolled in multiple consortia under this funding model and thinking about how to fund some of the statewide IET work. Each program counts the hours for the instruction they offer. So for example, if let's take the Hillside HCC course, and let's say that that was locally funded, not funded through regional transition. So kind of a takeoff of that. So in that case, any work that Cali offers then Hillside would count the contact hours for. And then let's say Red Wing recruited and got a student enrolled in the course. And then any of the just-in-time support, the wraparound service, any of the contact hours that Red Wing is offering to support the student in that work, they would count those hours, but they'd have to be clear not to double count hours during that work because that would violate state statute. And then the second model is that they use, this is the Hillside model. You use a special grant and then the home consortium counts all of the hours. And so we detailed what that looks like, and Meg and Callie talked about what that situation looks like as they describe the course. And I hopefully got that correct. Meg and Callie, please correct me if I wrote any of those details out incorrectly. Then third, I want to have Karen kind of jump in and talk about the idea that that you generated with your group. Karen?
Yeah, I have this idea. I actually started thinking about it back in the first session that you presented, Meg. So typically when you're creating the IETs, you're looking at labor market information for your own particular region, right? So I was thinking about if you were looking at the labor market information statewide, and you could identify some pathways that would be necessary statewide. For example, the healthcare core curriculum, because maybe healthcare is probably a statewide need, or like parapro, maybe a statewide need. So let's say you identified a couple of those that you know would benefit everyone. What if you took a certain amount of funding off the top of the regional transitions funding that the state, dishes out to all the regions, and you just took a certain amount of that funding off the top and then used that in an RFP to someone who wants to run parapro for the state, or to someone who wants to run healthcare curriculum for the state. And everyone would have access to that. You might have to have multiple sections, or you might have to find a way that you can, because there'd be more people obviously that would access it. But then the rest of the money would go out to the regions, as it already does. And people would be told, okay, you're not going to develop parapro and you're not going to run these because they're already offered for everyone. You're going to be offering other things. And then the only way that would get weird is if it doesn't benefit a region. So maybe some region says, I don't care about parapro. That's not important here. It's not in our regional plan. It doesn't meet our labor market information. So you would really have to be careful with doing that money that would benefit everyone or most local areas. If you did that, then that class would be funded. So this, essentially the state would be funding that. And then anyone who makes a referral would get their contact hours back at their local area. And you wouldn't have to worry about people not wanting to refer someone or people losing their students or any of that, because there would be no cost to anyone in consortium for hiring a teacher or any overhead. So that was just an idea I had. Or if there's a P2P grant that could be written on behalf of a statewide situation. Maybe you don't use regional transitions funds to do that. Maybe there's a P2P grant that's written by an area for the state. And they do that work. And then that would really take some coordination, because P2P then would not want to fund, that might not work. But, there's always grants. There's grants coming out all over the place all the time. So we could probably find a source to do that. Then all those barriers that you have listed on there, that would be identified. What in those that list of barriers that you have on this sheet or come up with, how could there be some tech support built into that? So for example, you're going to have a class and a certain consortium is going to run that, and you're going to give them the funding, and it's going to be a statewide class. There may be a need for tech support for students. There may be a need for support for the people at the local consortia who are supporting those students, kind of like a support group for the support people, so that those support people have someone to go to when they don't necessarily know what to do. Maybe they need time with the teacher once a week to meet and ask the questions of the teacher so that they can better support their students or something like that. You could build those supports into that grant and have that be done by the Literacy Council or whoever. That's just an idea that I have.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a great, and we've seen some support for that plan in the chat. I just like to use if you could use your reaction emoji, thumbs up or thumbs down, smiley face or frowny face, or you can add your support or questions about this model in the chat. What do you think about this idea? About having polling, maybe taking some of this statewide or some of the regional transitions funding, a portion of that, to create this special statewide pot for statewide IET classes. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. I'm seeing also some shocked faces or some wows. I'm not quite sure how to interpret the wow, but that's good to know. So excellent, thank you. Well, we've only scratched the surface on this issue, and so I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint now, or to our slides. Thank you all for helping to scratch the surface on this issue. This is an issue that we've been talking about for some time. And, you know, I'm really hoping and thinking that this is the year that this is the year to really dive into this a little deeper, go a little further with this. But this won't be something that we at the Minnesota Department of Education just implement or do on our own. This is going to be something that we really need some feedback, some input from some of you, especially those of you that maybe really have some great ideas or that have attempted this, like obviously Meg and Callie, we'd want you at the table around this. So as a closing thought, if you're interested in being kind of part of a brainstorming group to try to develop some specifics, more specifics, or explore this a little deeper, please put your name and email in the chat right now. And then we can kind of keep a catalog of those that are kind of saying, yes, I'd love to explore this further. I want to be part of a group that's going to explore this further. And let us know if you're interested. Other than that, you can see on the screen all of our contact information. I really want to thank Meg and Callie for sharing their outstanding healthcare core curriculum example, and for all of the leadership that you provide with a lot of our transitions work, and especially our IET work. And I think you've done an outstanding job at making the healthcare core curriculum kind of a model that we could use for other statewide IET courses. Thank you also to Julie for being kind of but actually being our transition specialist and guiding us through the basics of what IET is and what IET needs to be in order to operationalize it. And so I thank you all for being here. Thank you for all of your ideas, and have a wonderful rest of the conference.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Brad. I'll stop the recording here. If people have lingering questions, you do have a little bit of time here. I believe